Let's go! Hello again, what's up? You know what it is. John coming at you from Car Wheeler Motors, and of course this is the first review, or first American review of the 2025 Factor E from Electric Motion. Now this bike is gorgeous and we'll get into the details of course as we always do, but please, if you like this content, please hit that like button, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when our next videos are coming out. And we appreciate everybody out there giving us comments on the Facebook groups and as well as our Instagram. Follow us for more short videos on that. But before we get into it, I just want to thank everybody. Our trials community in Hawaii is next to non-existent, so it's so small. And just thank for everybody that coming out and supporting it. Of course, you know, we would not be able to sell these bikes in Hawaii without you guys, of course, and the interest that it is. So hopefully it gets bigger in the years to come. But for right now, let's jump right into the cool, super cool details of this innovative bike from Electric Motion. All right, here we go. And as always, top down, right from the top down, we have a new silver bar from Nikon. Trials bars, Trials bend. EM switched over to Nikon from S3, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And so far so good. Nothing wrong with the Nikon bar. The bend is similar to the S3, so nothing is changed too much. Quality wise, it's still the same. Of course, you're going to have your Brake Tech front master cylinder here and your domino throttle. Of course, all Electric Motion, what it's been known for from day one is having a hydraulic clutch, and we'll get into a little more details of the hydraulic clutch and the improvements they've made to that. But of course, you have your Brake Tech master cylinder there. You have your switch here, which is actually the same as the newer Electric Motions, or also if you've seen in our other video, check the link above for the Escape XR, the enduro bike. But what the Escape doesn't have is this. This is a kill switch, of course. If you're new to the channel or you're new to trials bikes in general, trials bikes, they're known for doing all these crazy obstacles and falling off the bike and whatnot. And the one thing that they do have is a magnetic kill switch that does kill the bike once it's released. You're supposed to have this on your left hand lanyard, so if you're not able to hold the clutch and your hand comes off, it will pull the kill switch off, killing the bike. Especially important with an electric bike because you don't have a chance for the bike to die. Of course, it's electric. And with this bike, what you'll hear as well once we start it up is the idle, and that will keep the tire going. And because it's electric, it literally will not die. So if you flip the bike and you don't have this lanyard on, the bike could still be running in whatever position it is. If you whiskey throttle, it will keep on going. If the throttle gets stuck or pinned into the ground, it won't kill itself, it won't flood itself, it will just continually spin. So this is very important, especially on an electric motorcycle. Now, let me put this on right here, actually, because I'm going to need it in the next segment. But what we have here is our TFT display. Now you see your battery on the side. You can also see RPM and your mapping. This bike does come with the Bluetooth app that you can adjust the power modes. For right now, we haven't done that yet. But what they don't tell you, which I wish they would, is that this bike is preset with tickover on, which is the electric idle. Now, I have to hold my clutch and push up or plus on this. And what that would do is it'll send it into mode 1. I can push it again, go into mode 2 and mode 3. And in every single mode, you hear the engine running. Now that is the tick over. This is an electric idle. And as I let the clutch go, the bike wants to progress. Just like a regular bike. Now the cool thing about this bike, which is a little bit different, is that you have this right here, a shifter. And what I just did was I literally just put it into neutral. The motor is running, my clutch is out. I'm in mode 1, but I'm in neutral. Now, it's gonna take me a while to get to here, but I hold the clutch in, shift it, and now we're back into gear. If I let the clutch out, the bike wants to progress. And it's very, very torquey. I'll get into that a little bit later. And then once we wanna stop, we just kill the bike. We just yank this magnetic switch. And there you go. Now our bike is neutralized, I guess you could say. Oh, let's move this back a little bit. All right, S3 Trials grips, of course, as always. From day one, they've always supported S3 really good. The finish is amazing. They have new silver triple clamps here, machined aluminum, billet aluminum triple clamps with a reinforced frame. So similar to the XR, you have these reinforced gussets here, as well as on the inside. I believe you have an extra rib behind this part of the frame, and you have this extra gusset here, which ultimately makes the bike a whole lot stiffer. Now, how does it feel? That is yet to be determined. I've come to learn that frame flex is important, and you know, flex, you can actually feel that a lot, especially up in the fork area. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe you have to run your clickers on your 39mm Tech trial forks with the aluminum bodies, a little bit lighter. Of course, it has this coating on it, which has kind of been standard from Electric Motion. They did go with a new fender design, a little different fender, kept it simple just with the plastic, but it's this nice kind of a gunmetal plastic, which I do like. That seems to be the theme of the bike outside of the blue graphics. Of course, you have your Michelin X11 Trials tires, which are absolutely the best Trials tire on the market right now. Not the cheapest, but definitely the best, and you're getting it with the bike. You always get it with the bike. They have a new rotor guard, which has been slotted to keep that around. It's nicer from the basic generic one they had before. They have a nice EM logo, and of course your 4-piston front caliper from Brake Tech. Top of the line, comes on the best bikes on the market, and this is one of the best bikes on the market, so therefore comes with. They did keep the Morad wheel, but it is now, instead of your standard black finish, it's more like a pewter gray finish, which is very, very nice. It makes the bike look a little more classy, not as simple and not as basic as some of the other ones, especially at this price range and at this quality level. You know, you expect the best, right? Coming down to the battery here, this is where you turn the battery on and off. Vice being on the front, now it's on the top. And if you notice, this battery takes up a lot more space in the frame as opposed to the older E-Pure models, where I think it was more around here. The reason is this is a 50 amp hour battery. You have the option with the Factor E, you can get a 32 amp hour and have it a little bit lighter and have a 50 amp hour. We went with the 50 amp hour just because why not? There is a significant price difference between the two, but why not get more range? The weight difference, if you're doing purely trials, I believe the weight difference may affect your decision, but the 32 amp hour battery, I want to say, is around 12 to 15 pounds lighter, just because the less cells that they use. Now you can see here that the charging plug is different. It's not that speak-on type plug anymore, it's more of a prong type, and the charger is a lot different too, which we will show you a little bit later. It does have this flip down cap here, which protects the probes very well, but as you notice, this looks like a carbon sheet over the battery, and it's not carbon, it's just plastic. But what EM has done is essentially they've given you a cover for your battery. So aluminum casing is back here, but being that the battery sticks out a little bit further in the frame because of the 50 amp hour capacity, and I'm assuming the larger cells that they're using in the battery, they've actually given you this replaceable like a carbon plastic enforced cover, which is awesome, of course, on both sides, that is. But what better way to protect your investment than putting this on. This wasn't available for any other battery in the EM line, so this is the first. Another thing, and this is getting to the meat of our video, this is the really important part. The one thing you may have noticed, of course, besides the battery, besides everything else, the gear, the shifter, of course, the shifter is very unique in itself. The first bike to market with a shifter. The drivetrain has changed dramatically. Now our motor is, I mean, it's about the size of like a food can. It's it's very small. I want to say this is about 6 inches across, vice the older one, which is definitely a lot bigger, and I'll show that in the photo right here comparing to the bike. Not only is this bike better with gearing, it's actually lighter because of the smaller efficient motor, and you can get to it for service with these screws, vice having to take that big bulky motor off. Of course, you have your shifter here, you have your oil drain plug there, and your new reconfigured transmission with a 520 chain, or sprocket and chain combination. Now EM has gone all to 520 chains on their trials models and their XR enduro models as well, so that would be very interesting. I don't see or feel a big change right off the bat. Time will tell if that makes a real big difference. But you're looking back here, you have a 41 tooth sprocket vice the 57 tooth sprocket they had with the 428 and the single gear. So I believe your gearing options are going to greatly improve because now you can run a 520, and everything else out there, Gas, TRS, Montesa, Sherco, they're all 520 as well. We all know that this is similar to a Sherco hub, where it's pretty much the same hub as the Sherco hub. So any of your gearing options, if you want to go bigger, I'm sure you can do that in the back as well. Okay, the swing arm, no change. That hasn't changed. The frame, of course, back here, there's a couple extra gussets in there added. I'll be showcasing a little bit more in the next video, but still got your S3 steel pegs. You still have that pewter finish on the rear wheel. Of course, tube-less trials wheel, which depends strictly on the bead of the tire to bead in. That way you can get that real low pressure, catch all that grip. And of course, your trial competition X11. Again, the best trials tire on the market to date. There's nothing better than this tire. Now moving around the top, I love the colors, this blue with the light blue, gray, and they've also adopted the same texture from the Electromotion XR limited edition with this textured feel, which is kind of interesting. And oddly enough, I thought it would catch the Hawaiian mud a lot, but it doesn't really. Surprisingly, it doesn't, which is great. It looks very nice. Now, something I did bypass on the other side, but this is a Tech shock. I don't know exactly what the model is. I'll do a little research and I'll put it on the screen, but at this time I'm not sure. But this Tech shock feels amazing, and I'm no trials pro like all of you might know already, but it feels a lot better than what you would have on the older models, which you would get the Olay RV16 shock. This one is fully adjustable. I believe it's a two-way shock, and it just feels good off the bat. I think you can give it a little more compression. I may swap the spring out later because I am a heavier rider to trial standards, but it's optional and you can do that. Tech has been coming out with some really good products lately, and it's something that's kind of interesting because trials is so small and yet people are still innovating. So that's great to know. Rear foot brake here, and we're gonna have a couple goodies to show you for the rear brake. We're gonna add it on in our next video, but this is what I wanted to get to as well. On this side, you see how small the drivetrain is. I mean, it's literally a third smaller than the old models, simply because the motor was taking up so much space. Everything else had to be higher. Like, that motor was not level with the transmission. The motor was definitely bigger. Now they're about the same size. And here you have your clutch plates, you have your slave cylinder in here for your diaphragm clutch. You can see your oil level from over here, which is great, and you have your oil fill here. Now, the reason why I point this out greatly is because now maintenance is going to be a lot easier. You know, for electric motion, you don't necessarily, I've said this before, you don't have to use the clutch all the time because it is electric. But for those of you out there that do use the clutch all the time and have gone through the process of changing a clutch, I'm sure it was a pain in the butt, because you had to literally take the motor and the drivetrain out, undo everything, and then put the plates back, put everything together and shove it back in, attach the swing arm and all that stuff. Now, because electric motion has gone through a design revamp, all you got to do is put the bike on the side, you take out these bolts that hold this cover, and that comes off, and you can service your clutch just as you would a gas bike. It's no harder, it's easier. I think it will promote a lot more clutch usage and a lot more clutch maintenance, which is great, because I do know some people that neglect this because it is a quote-unquote electric bike. So that's basically it, guys. This bike is very fresh. It's refreshing to see what they're coming out with and what they've done. When it comes to the motor, I was very iffy about how it was going to feel, and the reason I say that is because basically I've ridden the Dragonfly, the Mecha Techno, which has a similar size motor, and I didn't prefer it that much, to the point where I don't know, it was kind of gritty, and you know, it was an early production. I'm not sure if that was the reason, but I was worried that this was going to feel similar, because maybe I thought they used the same motor. But whatever they did, it's not. It's very smooth. It's just as smooth or smoother than the old model. So if you do like the ePure 2024 to 2020, if you do like that bike, and you're on the fence about getting this particular bike, spending the extra money and getting this bike, I would say it's definitely worth it. The options that you have, and this bike comes in at 18 kilowatts for power, whereas the previous ePures only had a maximum of 12. On top of that, the first gear is a lot lower. Now, I don't know the Newton meters off the top of my head, but I'll put it right there in a box. I've been told that the Newton meters for this bike compared to the 2024 and to 2020, third gear is like your one gear on a 2024 ePure. And then of course you have your fourth gear, which is one up. So if you want to do higher, higher ratios, higher speeds, say you're doing like a transfer for the road, you're not whining the bike out like we've always been doing. Like, you're riding fast and it's just killing your battery. You can do this a lot easier. And of course, the lower gears for second and the first gear is for your big splats, your trial stuff. I'll get into it in the other videos, but first gear in mode 1 is so low, it just literally creeps like a trials bike in first gear. So if you're doing something really technical where you don't really want to give it, let's say you don't want to give it throttle, you just kind of want to let it creep, and you're doing your turns around and you just want to blip it over something, but mostly turning, not so much obstacles. First gear on this bike with the clutch out, with the TKO on, is just like riding any TRS, gas, Sherco first gear. It's very nice. And of course, you're not going to kill it, right? So a couple advantages. So with that, thank you guys for checking out the video, staying to the end. Please, again, like and subscribe if you like this content. And coming up for this bike, you know, there's certain things that we got to do to make it our own. So we are going to be putting some accessories on it, and we're very excited to have partnered with Trials Solutions. We're going to have a put some of their gear on, and then we're going to give you a discount code from Cowwheeler Motors to go ahead and get you to check out some of their stuff and hopefully put it on your bike. So with that, thank you guys. Till next time, Raul Aloha.